Hey, what's up guys? Brian Kelly here from Zombie Guitar. In this video I want to give you major lick examples in each of the 5 pentatonic positions. So this video here is part 2 of a 2-part series. I did part 1 last week. I'll post a link to part 1 below. Part 1 was minor lick examples. This video here is major lick examples. So in both of these videos I'm using the exact same scales. I'm using the pentatonic scale and the diatonic scale. I'm using the exact same 5 pentatonic positions. I'm using the exact same set of notes to use as my soloing framework to create these licks. The only difference between minor licks and major licks is the chord progression that I'm playing them over. So in part 1, I played over a minor chord progression, therefore the licks were minor licks. In this video here, I'm playing over a major chord progression, therefore these licks are major licks. So you as a lead guitar player, you don't make the determination. The chord progression that you're soloing over is what determines whether they are major licks or minor licks. That's the big point I'm trying to get across in these 2 videos. So I'm going to start this video out by first giving you the examples. I'm going to give you 10 examples in total, 2 for each pentatonic position, 1 pentatonic lick and then 1 diatonic lick. So 2 for each of the 5 pentatonic positions. I'm then going to play the 10 minor licks which were played in the last video. That way you can kind of hear them back to back without having to jump back and forth to between 2 different videos. So if you haven't done so already, definitely take a look at zombieguitar.com. Zombieguitar.com is my website. It is a million times better than my YouTube channel. So I give out tons and tons of free content on YouTube, but on zombieguitar.com there is at least 10 times more content that is not already available on YouTube. There's structure, there's organization, there's no ads in any of the videos, there's thousands of video backing tracks, there's structured courses. Every single one of my YouTube videos is also available on Zombie Guitar as well, but there's no ads in the videos, and every single one of the video lessons also comes with a in-depth written lesson, including fretboard diagrams, chord diagrams, backing tracks that go along with the lesson. So there's just too much stuff to list. There's probably like 4,000 videos at this point on Zombie Guitar. So if you really like my YouTube channel and you want to support me, check out this site. I'd really appreciate it. Let's go on to the rest of the lesson. So I also did a theory overview in part 1 as well, and I talked about some stuff in part 1 that I'm not going to talk about here in this video. So if you haven't checked out part 1, take a look at that. Again, I posted a link to that below. So the two things I want to talk about in this video before wrapping it up are, number 1, the pentatonic positions. The numbering of each position is completely arbitrary. And then number 2, I just want to kind of talk about chord tone targeting a little bit. So let's first talk about the arbitrary numbering of the pentatonic positions. So you have 5 pentatonic positions, whether you're in a major key context or a minor key context. It doesn't matter. There's just 5 positions. I personally like to keep the numbering the same for both major and minor. It makes more sense to me to do it that way. It keeps things simple. If I can simplify things in any way possible, I always like to do so. So just keeping the numbering consistent for both major and minor, in my opinion, makes more sense. So for this particular key signature, C major, A minor, same key signature, same notes, same everything. I like to call this position number 1. So between frets 5 and 8, I like to say that that's position number 1. If you start on the note A and end on the note A, it's your A minor pentatonic scale. If you start on the note C and end on the note C, it's your C major pentatonic scale. So it's the same notes. It's just if you're starting on A, ending on A, you're playing your A minor pentatonic. If you start on the note C, end on the note C, it's your C major pentatonic. Some people like to call that position number 1 for a minor context, but then they'll call this position number 1 for a major context. So they'll say that this is C major pentatonic position number 1. All right, and then they'll say that that's position number 2 for a minor context. So now you have 2 different numbering systems for major and minor. To me, that's unnecessary confusion. I like to say everything's the same. So you could, since the pentatonic scale is just 5 notes, you could play the exact same thing in this position or this position. So let me just show you how that sounds. So C major pentatonic here, C major pentatonic here. It's the same exact thing, it's the same notes. It's just 5 notes. So it's the whole thing is it's completely arbitrary. When you add in your 2 additional notes to create the diatonic scale, the same thing applies. The diatonic scale is 7 notes. Whether you play those 7 notes here, up on the higher strings, here, 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 it's still just 7 notes. Or if you just limit yourself to the 5 notes and just play the pentatonic notes, it's just 5 notes. So the numbering of these positions is completely arbitrary. Call them whatever you want. I personally just like to call this position number 1, this position number 2, 3, 4, and 5, regardless of whether it's used in a major context or a minor context. So the last thing I want to talk about in this video is chord tone targeting. So you don't have to chord tone target every single chord that's happening in the rhythm section. You can, but you don't have to. I wasn't. The way I was doing this, and I did this for all 20 example licks that I did, it's chord 2, 3, 4, chord 2, 3, 4, chord 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So that last chord, which was an F major chord in both this video and the last video, which lasts for 2 bars, that's where I was playing the lick. So I wasn't playing anything over the first chord. I wasn't playing anything over the second chord. Once it got to the 3rd chord, I would start playing the lead line. And when I was playing the lead line, I was just focusing on the scale. I wasn't focusing on chord tones at all. I was just doing some kind of a scale run. The chord tone targeting occurred at the very last note of the lick. So it's chord 2 3 4, chord 2 3 4, chord 2 3 4, 1 2 3 4, and then it starts back over. So I was timing my licks such that it was scale, 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 and the lick on a chord tone of the next chord. So for this video, it starts back over on the C major chord. Therefore, I was timing every lick that I did to land on a chord tone of a C major chord. So one last thing is when you're doing minor licks, which in this case is A minor, so your A minor chord is A, C, and E, you end your lick on either an A, a C, or an E, and it's going to sound great. So when you go ahead and switch to major, and then you end your lick on a C, E, or a G, it's going to sound great. The thing is, people sometimes have the tendency to end their licks on the A. So if you're in a major context and you go and you end your lick on an A, it could work, but it's not always going to sound good because A, the note A, is not a chord tone of the C major chord. But if you're in a minor context and you end your phrase on a C, it's going to sound good because that is a chord tone of the A minor chord. So hopefully that makes sense. So if you're in a major context and you play a lick where you're like, you're ending on the note A right there, but the chord that's occurring, that's starting the progression over, is a C major chord. The C major chord is the notes C, E, and G, but you ended your phrase on the note A, so that's not always going to sound good. It might, some people may prefer that sound. I'm not saying you can't do it. I'm just saying you may not prefer that sound. But if you're in a minor context and you do the same lick and you end it on the note A, it's going to sound good because the note A is a chord tone of the A minor chord. Just the same thing if you end your lick on a C, that's going to sound good if in a minor context because the note C is part of the A minor chord, A, C, and E. So you can end these licks on the note C in a minor context and that's going to sound fine. But when you're in a major context, if you go ahead and you end it on the note A, you may not like that sound. So if this isn't making sense, you'll see what I'm talking about. Once you start playing over a major chord progression and you're used to playing minor licks such that you end on the minor scale root, you're going to be like, that doesn't quite sound how I want it to sound. The reason is because the chord tone targeting, you're not landing on a chord tone. So hopefully that makes sense. That's just something to keep in mind. That's going to do it for this lesson. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Any questions, comments, leave them in the comments below. Thanks for watching. See you next time.